Hello everyone, I'm Lisa Duffy, and I wanted to share with you something fun that I did just a few weeks ago. I was able to bridge San Diego, the West Coast, with Charleston, South Carolina, the East Coast, and have a great conversation with Jerry Usher. Now you may remember Jerry from Catholic Answers Live. He was the creator and producer and host of that show for a long time. But he's been out there doing all kinds of great stuff that I wanted to share with you, and I thought you would find interesting. So, without further ado, here is the interview with Jerry. Jerry, I want to welcome you, and thank you so much for taking the time.
I'm glad to do it, Lisa. Thanks for having me on.
Would you take a moment to explain to our viewers how you came to do the work you do and how the things that have really helped you along the way being a single Catholic?
Well, I'll tell you, the way I got started doing the things I do, it's a long story. It actually goes back to when I was in high school, and I wanted to be involved in sports in some way, and I thought, well, the best way to do that is probably to be a teacher and a coach in high school. But by the time I finished high school, I had pretty much had enough of going to school for a while, so I decided to look for other ways of maybe getting into sports, being involved in sports. And one way that I thought I could do that was by doing sports broadcasting. So right after high school, I went to broadcasting school, and my first job, I was 18 years old and got a job doing what I love doing, and that was broadcasting high school football and basketball and baseball. And I did that for a number of years, and as is often the case in radio, it's a very transient business. I was all over the West Coast taking this job and that job, and then I had a resurgence of my faith, and before I knew it, I found myself spending some time in formation for the priesthood, 6 years in the Archdiocese of Portland. And when the Lord directed me out of the seminary, I got into Catholic radio. I went back into radio, but this time it was into Catholic radio, and spent a number of years doing that. You mentioned the time I was host of Catholic Answers Live, and I left Catholic Answers in 2009, just a little over 3 years ago, to start Third Millennium Media. And like you said, we've been helping a lot of Catholic radio stations get started, stay funded, help them with programming, production, and a lot of other services.
Excellent. And we're thrilled to have you out there because, everyone knows that there's so much work to be done in the media field especially, and I think it's wonderful that people are taking the bull by the horns in this direction and really getting out there and being competitive with everything else that's out there.
You're saying exactly what our philosophy is, and the Church Council documents, Vatican II documents, and the Pope since then have been calling upon us lay Catholics to get out there and do media, not just to get involved in the media, but to produce what is equal to what seculars and evangelical Christians are doing. So we've got our work cut out for us. There's a lot of great advancements being made in this area, though.
The first thing that I'd like to ask you is, what have been the most important factors in your life that have helped you, go along as a single Catholic?
I have found myself, as you say, as a single Catholic, and what sustains me really is the fellowship that I have with the colleagues I work with and the colleagues that I work for, people like yourself. I travel a lot. I go to these Catholic radio stations and host their on-air fund drives, pledge drives throughout the year. I've been doing that for about 13 years, and I get so much energy from that because every town is different, every station is different, and the staff, they are just so on fire, and they are dedicated to the faith and spreading the word through Catholic radio and the media. So that's really a huge factor for me because, like I say, I am on the road a lot. I feel like, as the Bible says, the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Sometimes I feel the same way, hotel room to hotel room. So I really feed off of that fellowship and companionship that I get from Catholics around the country.
Excellent. And that's one great reason that people join Catholic Match, because regardless of, their state in life, some have been never married, some have been married and are now divorced and annulled, and they're looking for someone new, a new relationship. There's always that sense of community. And I think that you point that out. It's very important that you have community to, connect with.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think the work that you're doing is fantastic because, Catholics want to find good, solid Catholics. And I hate to say it, you probably know this way better than I do. Just the fact that you go to church regularly, maybe get involved in a young adult group or other groups in your parish or Theology on Tap or Catholic local Catholic singles groups doesn't mean that you're going to find the people and that one person that maybe God is calling you to be united with for life. So I think an outreach like yours is fantastic because it gives people an opportunity to get acquainted, get to know one another. I know there are challenges to what you're doing, and people have to navigate these types of sites carefully. But I think it's a wonderful thing, and I really applaud you for doing it.
What are the things that you found in your life that you would avoid that would be an obstacle to remaining a happy single, or just living the single life happily?
Sure. Well, as far as maybe meeting other people, quite honestly, my life has been so busy these last, since I came out of the seminary, that it hasn't really been a challenge for me to try and avoid certain, say, pitfalls, if you will. But I would just say, maybe on the positive side, I myself, and I would encourage others to be looking for, obviously, someone who's not just a practicing Catholic, but someone who's very devout, very orthodox in their faith, obviously, and takes the faith spiritually, but not in a stuffy way. I mean, we need to have happiness and a joy in our lives. And I can't remember, it was one of St. Teresa of Avila or somebody said, Lord, deliver us from sour-faced saints, so someone who's serious about their faith and, devout, prayerful, has a spiritual life, a prayer life, but also a life apart from that. You and I were talking before we started the interview about the importance of balance in our lives. So I just think look for someone who's happy, joyful, happy, has a balance in their lives, and I think that's going to make a great connection for anyone.
Now, what's very interesting is, people come to Catholic Match and they're interested in finding a new relationship. And from time to time it does happen that someone will realize, well, I'm actually not suited for married life at all. And I am interested in seeing if God is calling me to the priesthood. As a matter of fact, I think just in the last month or two we had a great blog article on that. A gentleman was expecting a family and a wife and realized that the result of his search on Catholic Match was for a vocation to the priesthood. So since you have vocationboom.com, can you tell us a little bit about that and what advice you might have for someone in that position?
Well, first of all, I think it's fantastic that a site like yours is very, very, it encourages people really to find, first of all, what their vocation is, all right? I mean, obviously you exist to help them find, hopefully, a life partner, a life mate, a spouse, but I'm sure there are resources on there, and the types of people who are on your site are serious, first of all, about discerning, what am I called to do? Am I called to marriage? And if not, then what is my vocation in life? So I think that's fantastic to have that openness and to create a culture online where people can safely and with support from others discern what exactly their vocation is. Obviously on our site we provide resources, information about the priesthood. We have audio and video galleries. I have a blog when I keep it up, which is way too seldom. We've got the archives of our radio show and a lot of other resources, links to dioceses and archdioceses, their vocation pages. We have links to all the seminaries in the United States, and there's so much more we want to do with the website, resources permitting and time permitting, but we're just one small little piece of the puzzle. There are a lot of other great websites that are out there, and I like to say we're simply at the service of the church, and if we can be responsible for encouraging just one priestly vocation along the way, then blessed be God for that.
Now tell us how people can get a hold of you and maybe your website names again. That would be great.
Sure. Well, thirdmillenniummedia.com is my business website. I like to say Third Millennium Media is where my money comes in, and Vocation Boom is where my money goes out. So, because it's the nonprofit apostolate, if people want to log on to the vocation site, it's vocationboom.com, and they can email me through there, info, very simple, info@vocationboom.com, and I do believe they can get a hold of me at Jerry Usher at vocationboom.com as well, and There's a toll-free phone number on Third Millennium Media's website if people want to reach me by telephone.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for spending some time with us and letting us know about all this great, work that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Happy to do it. My prayers are with all of you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Jerry. Take care.